Hey guys, it's WooGs here. Bringing you kind of an interesting video. This is something I wanted to do from the beginning of the season. I tried to get other people to do it, but no one was really too interesting. And this was the Blood Golems DClone. Now, it works very well for T0, T1. It's almost too strong for T0 to be honest, but the real concept behind it is really Blood Golems with bleed, open wounds. Uh, they stack for all the golems, so 6 golems you get, but it has to be the individual golem, which is kind of frustrating, which I'll talk about in a bit. But the idea is to use that to take down DClone, and then for the skeletons, you're using Spirit of the Barbs, which is doing attackers takes damage, or returns damage, and that also applies the bleed stacks, or open wounds in PD2. So you're getting that from your Wisp, as I'm showing here, and I did this kill on hardcore, I guess just to show that it really is viable. This ends up being a very close one, but I kind of wanted to do it on hardcore just to show that I was confident that it would work. The gear is pretty nice, but it's definitely has some room for improvement, some better play for sure. So it's definitely possible, but as a T1 farmer, it's super good. T0, it's also very good, but you got to build a lot of defenses because you actually end up double phasing constantly in T0, which is kind of neat. But it makes you be able to do it, day 1, day 2 with this kind of strategy. So I'll try to talk through the strategy as I'm going. So we're getting the Spirit of the Barbs up. The idea here is I'm trying to keep DClone very much in the center, so that my Blood Golems will attack him and not like a pillar or one of these, conjured souls on the side of the um, pillars there on the wall. And the idea here is, you see I get to count 6 and I stop casting, because if you overwrite a golem, from my testing it seems to remove the bleed stacks or start the stack at 0 again. But you see there, that was a very quick phase. We got him, all the way to skeletons pretty quickly on a summoner build, which is pretty cool. Now this is definitely the longer part, is the melee skeletons. You kind of want to basically have them attack your golems and they're going to apply the bleed. So as I'm just kind of circling around doing that, I'll kind of retouch the topic. So it seems that, I was doing this kill on Pluggy and single player and testing it for a while, and I was just kind of circling through the golems, and I was doing significantly less damage. It was taking much longer to do the kill. And then I did a run where I just threw out 6 and didn't resummon them, and it phased in half the time. So, I then kind of tested it a bit, and I kind of came to that same conclusion. So there's probably a few other weird things that are going on as well, but that's definitely one that I noticed. I have another issue where if he's close to a pillar, the damage seems to be a lot less. I don't know if the bleed is like changing target to the pillar, then it's reducing his stack. I'm not really sure what's going on there, but if he's near a pillar, um, like the splash isn't carrying it properly. I don't know what's happening, but essentially he's not phasing at all. But you can see there, that was quite a quick one as well. I tried to pop the spirits there, but he had walked twice, so I knew he was going to off-center Nova if I didn't move quickly, so otherwise I would have tried to pop all the spirits. Bone armor, I'm not trying to keep it up always, just when I have time to do it. It's kind of a wasted, not a wasted cast, but you're needing to cast quite often to keep your blood golems alive. So you can't really, use, you only really, you want to use your time to cast the golems when you can, and then if you don't need to cast a golem, then it's a good time to do a bone armor. We have a good amount of life, so you don't necessarily need it. You see, that was quite quick phase as well. So this one's actually going really good up to here. I don't really know what happened, why my pots got so bad later, but let's find out. But this is actually, these phases usually get harder for everybody, but for this build, it's actually kind of easier because you get less melees, or the melees are kind of focused, but the archers are going to shoot your golems, and they're going to kill themselves. So as they shoot the golems, they apply a stack of bleed on them, and they're going to keep shooting and kind of get more and more stacks on them. And you see the guys in the middle there just kind of fell over. So you can kind of just keep yourself alive, keep the golems up. You do need to try to keep as many golems up as you can to kind of avoid them attacking you. Now at this point, you kind of have two options that you can do. I don't know what's better. I did both in my single player runs, and hit or miss on what was better, to be honest, so I don't really know. So you can either keep running around the ring and kind of let them run up to your golems and apply the stacks, or you can try to get them in a freeze, kind of like what's there, and you know, kind of circle that smaller area and get the golems and them to attack much quicker. So they'll die obviously when they're in a big pack much quicker. The issue I have with that is the smaller ring you run or surface area you're covering, the more spirits and meteors that are going to be in that area. It's kind of spreading out less. So, because they're kind of targeted on you a little bit. So if you're running on the outside ring in a larger, area, then you're less likely going to be getting hit by the spirits. So this is definitely something I can tell right now is I fought him at the pillar there for a long time, and I was probably doing 0 damage, which is why I just drank like 6 pots doing that. So now that he's a bit further away, it's okay, but you can also see my one golem's just running back and forth between the pillar. That's obviously not ideal. But then once I got him out of the pillar, he was much better. I'm going to try to pop all 3 here and then run sideways. Little risky, but if you do it before the first, you can move during the Nova phases as long as it's before the first cold, so then you can kind of see if you're going to get hit by that first one, because the first one's not going to kill you. That was a risky BO doing the second part of that BO with, 1200 life, but I like to take stupid risks, I guess. So this is an okay spot. I'm going to take a lot of damage there, which is I'm a bit worried about. So I think I move away. That's a terrible spot right against the pillar there. And right there, because you see my golems are kind of, they're doing okay right now, but they can kind of get distracted and hit that pillar like those two are. And I'm getting significantly less damage from that. So I guess this is why I eat up a lot of pots. I mean, if you can get a really good run and you can pull them into the center, it phases so much quicker and it's a lot more, kind of reliable. Dove to about 600 life there. So this is the other phase, the final skeleton phase. Now, this nice and interesting thing is the mages, like they're actually like an elemental auto attack. So when they're shooting you or shooting the golems, they're actually going to apply the bleed as well. So it's not like a spell, they're actually attacking. That's, it's same with like necromancer mages, because fanaticism can increase their attack frames, not by much, but it does work. It's similar here, it is an attack. So when they are hitting the golems, they're applying the bleed. So the skeleton mages actually die super fast here because they have not that much health, and then they're going to apply that bleed, and you see they're almost all gone. And the archers, I had a lot of golems out, so they kind of died really quickly here too. So now we just have the melees left, which is quite nice. So, I kind of have it in a freeze here, but sorry, I panicked a little bit there to move away. I think I was trying to judge how much pots I had left. But the nice thing is you can kind of apply your bleed stacks and then run away for a little bit and then go back and reapply them because, the bleed's going to continue on. At least for the skeletons. For Diablo, it doesn't quite work like that. You do have to be careful though because you can double phase him because the bleed will continue when he goes immune. So you have to be a bit careful about that. So here I was a bit, little shaky there for a second. I was not too happy because I was consistently having a belt left when I got into after the final pillar phase. So having less than a belt before the pillar phase, I was a little skeptical, but I was like, okay, let's just kind of see how far we can take this. I'll save and exit if I need to. And then I got a fire patch here, which was probably the worst thing that could happen, really. So then I'm down to now only not that many pots here, right? So we have to kind of be very careful having like 7 pots. So what we're gonna do is, he's got a decent amount of health. So I'm pretty much thinking I'm gonna save and exit here because I was like, I don't think I'm gonna get 6 golems up. And then I managed to get a good, AI here for a second where I'm keeping 6 up like this. And that kind of built up my confidence because I know that means that stack is there. So So I'm like, okay, I can do that one or two more times. Now, it's probably a pretty stupid idea to continue this fight at this point, but I had a feeling it might be doable with the bleed stack, so at this point I was pretty sure as long as I don't get hit by a meteor, then I did. But yeah, it was yeah, pretty dicey there, but we made it. So I was consistently getting like 12 pots left on Pluggy, so this was you know, that fire patch pillar at the end, that, you know, that's eating up quite a few. So um, you got to be, you know, if you're doing it on hardcore, being careful on your softcore, like, you know, if you get a bunch of fire patches like that, you can kind of save and exit if you need to, because you're not always going to have a scenario where you get fire patches on the pillars. It's kind of a scenario that you can just kind of remake if you kind of get it. Now, unfortunately, I tried to do my audio here, but I just listened to the video, and for whatever reason, my audio didn't capture. So this better be capturing now. So I'm going to have to try to see what I was mousing over here and try to do the same audio again. So hopefully that works out. But here we go. So here's the build. So Dominion, you know, I went with a 3 Blood Golem, 2 Golem Mastery Dominion, I believe. I don't know, it might have been a 3-3 and I rolled a 2. Who knows? I think that's about the best you can do. Instead of Bone Prison, if I had Bone Armor, that would be even better. But the Blood Golem's really all you want. I wasn't, you know, thinking about getting a Fire Golem plus 3 plus Blood Golem, but to be honest, having the Fire Golems out instead of the bleed from the additional bloods is much worse. So there's a 3% Shaco, cannot be frozen. If it was 4%, I would have had 50 PDR, which, you know, maybe that's that extra pot, who knows. But yeah, that's something there. 33% PDR, Shaft Stop, kind of nice. Nice one there, classic. Shout out to the hardcore for that. 2 max FCR Maras. That FCR is quite nice there. You know, I could hit it in another area, like on the gloves or something, and still be at the same breakpoint, but, you know, getting it there is definitely helpful. So the Bone Flame, plus 5 fire with Ja in it. I tried to get rid of the but I really couldn't. You know, maybe if I had some better charms or some better, I don't know, but it was tight there. So 7% max on the water walks. Dwarf Star, a nice belt plus 2 max, 30 strength. I believe Cucks dropped this one off. A lot of the other gear I got big support from Stoic, so shout out there as well. And then we're using a Wisp, right? Because that's what's giving us our Spirit of the Barbs, which means we don't get a Natures, so we don't get the 3 max from Natures or the Life from Natures, which is why the build's a bit harder to build around. Now, early game, you could use things like Silence or something like that as your main weapon to try to get at the Spirit of the Barbs, or the attacker takes damage. I believe it's Silence. So you can kind of do that as well. And that might actually work better than Dominion. To be honest, I'm not sure. This is kind of what I had and what I wanted to do. But you can see there, that's 5.8k bleed on a single stack, which is stacking for each golem. Now each golem, I believe, like I said, has its own like ID, so then when you respawn a golem, it kind of overrides that ID and then starts the bleed stack over. Something like that is happening because that's what the damage seems to be doing when I was testing it. Yeah, so you know you could, yeah, I think that's what I'm talking about here, but you have to be a bit careful about that, and maybe there's a bit more to learn about that. It's really hard to see in like maps or anything like that. This is not a build I would map with either. I would do fire golems. This is good like day 1, but it's really slow waiting for the bleed. It's really good for single target. Destroys Ubers. Does DClone very well. You could do it super budget day like 2. You just gotta be a bit careful about the double phasing. Grave Bombs, to life ones that I managed to grab. Yeah, I see that 48 Blood Golem, which is pretty good. Summoner Skillers, some, you know, lifers, nothing crazy good there. Some FHR ones, nice Torch and Annie. And then just res across the charms. Now I do have a couple plain 20s here that I might have been able to drop the for if I hit some, you know, crazy life slash like 5 all res or single res ones, but that was a bit challenging, so I didn't really bother. Being level 92 means I could max everything. So you see I have Clay Golem maxed, Golem Mastery, Blood, Iron, Fire, all maxed. And a 1 point Blood Warp, and then 1 point Bone Armor. So obviously if I had the Bone Armor there instead of Bone Prison, then I would have hit, you know, you could do it at level 90, I guess. extra golem mastery isn't that big of a deal. So you see you have decent damage on clay golems as well, which I'm showing there. Fire golems is really low. It's not that useful. But clay golems are some good damage, but it's not worth getting rid of that bleed stack. So definitely blood golems is the way to go here. You're not their damage. I'm not that worried about. It's just the open wounds. You're just trying to make sure you're applying the open wounds, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, that's the Blood Golem T2 DClone. So I guess, okay, quickly talk about this. What I'm trying to show here is that if you are spamming different golems, the cooldown you can see down there is individual golems only. So you can actually get 6 up almost instantaneously, but if you're trying to just get a single golem up, then you have the 1 second cooldown. So you could start the fight by doing 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 to get 6 up really quickly, and then get your bloods after. But I didn't find that as consistent with the bleed. Maybe someone else will have some better luck, but that's kind of what was happening for me. What's next? If I manage to get the gear for Lucian, I'll send this guy in hardcore into Lucian and see how that goes. So, thanks everybody. Thanks for watching. Cheers.